Hey everyone, it's Jason and welcome to another Primal The Awakening unboxing. This is part 2 of the Mount Havoc expansion, which adds, or the Hunter expansion, which adds our brand new hunters. We have Hellering the Heavy Gun and Karah the Dual Blade. So we went over Hellering in the first video, so if you missed that, go back, check that out. Then we went over some of the extra cards that came in the game. That went for like the extra armor and stuff like that. This video, we're going to go over Karah's dual blades and all her cards, and then we're going to go over the campaign stuff, which will add some spoilers in there too, so we'll make sure to put a spoiler warning up on that. So let's just head right into her deck, and we'll get that going. So here's her miniature, first of all. So we've had giant swords, giant shields, giant guns, giant bows. She gets 2 giant bladed weapons. So like opposite of this package, we have Hellering, who is all about standing back, firing a gun from a distance. Karah is going to be right up close in the thick of it, but she's also going to be moving around the board. She has her own neat mechanics. There's just a picture of her artwork a little bit better. So you can look at that. Oh no, she fell on the ground. Yeah, big old giant blades. Like, she's kind of holding them. They're not like attached to her or anything like that. But yeah, it's just some cool clothes. Kind of ninja-esque. Very cool. She also has, notably on here, she has this extra little counter. This is her blade dance counter. So she's going to have, this is how she does extra damage on her cards. And we'll look at that when we get into it in just a moment. So we're going to look at her ability cards here. Flip this back up. Alright, figure out where she fell so I don't step on her and break her by accident. Alright, so she has some reference icons. So she has, if played after a red card, these are all fairly standard. You can trigger the ability of the next card you play in the attack sequence is red. Trigger the next one's trigger if the next card is an offensive card, red or blue. Mastery ability resolves if your mastery is focused. And finally, this icon refers to your weapon level, which is showing on the Blade Dance ability. Her other keywords are assist, which every character has. Once per turn, during another player's turn, either before or after any action, you may perform an assist by discarding a card with the keyword assist from your hand. If you do that, the player draws a card. Alright, so Battle Dance is her main mechanic. So it deals damage to the monster as she plays consecutive offensive cards, red or blue. In sequence, the amount of damage dealt through Blade Dance is indicated corresponding image on Karah's Hunter board. Chain, color. A card with keyword ability can be played without paying its cost if you play after that color in there. So if it's like chain red, you keep playing red cards if you keep chaining them together. Overrun. When you overrun the monster, place your hunter on the sector in the opposite of your current one. Reclaim, which we saw in Hellering, so I had to look it up. This is a keyword that triggers when a card with this keyword is in your discard pile anytime during the game. If you meet the condition, you may search your discard pile for a card with this keyword, add it to your hand. And then Stealth. Action cards with the keyword Stealth do not trigger reaction icons, which contains the color of the choice when they're played in your sequence. Cool. So she has some neat stuff. So we're gonna look at some of her abilities quick before we get too far into the game. So we have Overrun here. This is a keyword ability that allows you to place your hunter miniature on a sector opposite your current one. For example, you can jump from the front to the rear sector. When you overrun the monster, you remove your threatened stats as you report a regular movement. Overrun is not considered to be a movement for the purpose of gameplay, so it suffers effects that you cannot move until the end of your turn or stuff like that. You can still overrun. This lets her use her incredible ability to basically overrun, like hop up on top of the monster, dodge over, and get to another side. You also do flank to flank, but it has to be from one side to the other. She can't go from the front sector to a flank. And then Reclaim, just a little bit more on there. So if it says Reclaim 2 red, Once you play 2 red in a row, you can dig this out of your discard pile and add it to your hand. So this will help you get them cards back even quicker. And then they go into chain. You play without paying stamina cost after a color. So again, if it says reclaim red, you can play after a previously red card to keep the chain going. Then her battle dance. So this is on her little board down there. So basically how she works for this is lots of characters have, or hunters have stuff that say, like, when you do this, this card does X number of damage. If you play a red, you can do X amount of extra damage. She does not have that. What she does is the more consecutive offensive card you play, the more damage you inflict. So you play the second, fourth, and sixth cards. You do specifically either 3 per weapon level, 5, or 7. So if you're controlling Karah, you play 2 consecutive cards in your sequence. You deal 3 damage to the monster when you play her second one. So if her base weapon here, we'll look at her base weapon here, has 2 damage, right? We're just going to look at that for the moment, right? So if she plays her first offensive card, let's say she plays a red card, she does 2 damage, right? She plays her second one, now she does 2 damage plus 3 per her weapon level. So now she does 5. In that sequence, she plays her next one, she'll do an additional 2 damage. She plays 4 red cards in a row. Her fourth one will do 2 damage plus an additional 5 per weapon level, which is 5. So now she's doing 7. So yeah, you could end up doing up to 16 extra damage, or up to 15 total, just with those weapons. Not counting the fact that you also do any weapon damage you played. Now again, you can play red, blue, blue, red, red. You can play all blues and you can still be triggering these. So playing blue cards will also trigger these effects. The only thing that happens if you play blue, blue, red, yellow, that yellow ends it. Doesn't matter if the next 6 cards are all the same thing. Yeah, so she's going to do a bunch of little tiny damages over time. But they will add up. And we'll see how that works with the rest of her cards as we go along. So let's look at her weapons. So she have dual blades. 6, 6, 6, 6. Very standard too. When you trigger battle dance, deal 1 damage. So yeah, once you trigger that, once you hit the extra thing, you get an extra ability. So again, extra damage is always good. Ooh, these are fun. The flame ones we have, or fire, we have dragon wings. Those are really neat. 6, 5, or 6, 4, 5, and 5. So a little less maneuver, a little bit more attack. When you empty your deck, Dragon Wings, it's +1 damage, max 4 times per game. Oh, that's cool. She goes going through cards like crazy, right? So yeah, she's probably gonna empty your deck, take the extra weapon damage, fatigue damage. But here at least you can boost up your weapon, potentially making this level 1 weapon do 6 damage, 7 damage. It's awesome. If we level this up with just dragon scales on there, building up a little bit bigger spines on the dragons. Stats all stay the same. When you empty your deck, it's +2 damage. And then the last one, they kind of cover the rest of that up. Stats all stay the same. When you empty your deck, it's +3 damage times 4. So that's your 12. So it's up to 20 damage by the time you've emptied your deck 4 times. Remember, you're going to be taking extra damage every time, and plus it takes it to your weapon level. So keep that in mind too, that every time you up your damage to your weapon, when you empty your deck, you're going to take extra fatigue damage as well. For Horn, we have Dancing Bones. Ooh, that was pretty cool. 5, 5, 5, 5. When you trigger battle dance, Dancing Bones is +2 damage till the end of turn. So cool. So it's neat there is that the red one, every time you trigger it, or the base one, every time you trigger it, just did 1 damage. This one, when you do it, you'll get +2 damage, but that means you'll be doing the extra 2 damage in between the times when you're not triggering it, between the 3, 5, and 7 times. Plus, you will also get extra every time you do it. So the first time you'll get +2. Then when you trigger the second time, you'll get another +2. So it can bounce up pretty quick. Alright, get a bunch of gnarly horns on there. A little bit more spikes on the end. Stats all stayed the same. When you trigger Battle Dance, it's plus 3 damage till the end of turn. And then the last one, just add some more horns everywhere. That's all we're gonna do. When you trigger Battle Dance gets plus 4 damage on the turn. When you chain a card in your Mastery focus, gain a stamina token. It's a little bit harder to do, but you know, again, she'll probably kick it off fairly easily, especially by the time you're getting later in the game. But yeah, extra stamina token out pay for stuff is always good. For our coral, we have tidal waves. Lobster claws on the end there. 4, 6, 6, and 4. So a little less focus on attacking, a little bit more on maneuvering, but still an offensive card, so it works towards Battle Dance, and a little bit more parrying. When you chain a card, recycle 1, so discard and draw a new card. So that could be cool. Like, oh, I don't have another chain card in my hand. Discard a non-one, you might draw another chain. That's cool. Upgrade it. Cover it in some more coral and reef stuff. When you chain a card, remove 1 struggle or recycle 1. Gives you some options. Nice, not gonna argue with that. Did the stats change on there? Nope, stayed the same. Okay. And the last one where you get some like shells and stuff on there as well. When you chain a card, remove 1 struggle or recycle 1. When you overrun the monster, heal 3. So that's I don't know why you heal 3 for overrunning, but it's going to give you a better advantage of overrun. That's really cool. Alright, those 3. We're going to jump into the next 3. We have Crystal, Shimmering Star, 4, 6, 5, and 5. When another player plays a card in their sequence, you may discard a card of the same color from your hand. If you do your weapon damage. Oh, interesting. So someone else plays and you just jump in and smack someone. So this is kind of focusing less on her blade dance and more on her just being able to do extra little hits here and there. That's pretty cool. When we upgrade it, we're going to get some purple crystals on there. Stats all stay the same. When a player plays a card in a sequence, you may discard a card of the same color from your hand. If you do, deal your weapon damage. If the discarded card was 1, draw a card. So the first one, yeah, you discard it and you deal damage. This one you do the same thing, but at least if it's a red, you get to draw a card. Cool. So at least you're getting extra potential ability out of it. The last one, we're add some dragon-looking crystals. That's neat. Stats all stay the same. Same thing. Player plays a card or sequence. You may discard the same color from your hand. If you do, deal your weapon damage. If it happened to be an offensive card, draw a card. Cool. You only go at once per turn, so you might as well wait until they play a red card or an offensive card, depending on which one. But it lets you at least replenish your card then. Neat. For Thunder, we have Volk Rage. We have some usually it's Bugs exoskeleton. 6, 5, 4, and 5. And this is the first one that had some of the 2 highest offensive things. When you overrun the monster, place a counter on this card. Volk Rage has 4 damage for each counter on it. Attack, remove all counters from Volk Rage after the attack. Okay, so this is kind of neat. So the lightning or thunder lightning, they charge these up, and then if you play the red card, the longer you wait to play the red card, the more damage it will do. But again, her whole thing is she wants to play potentially a ton of red cards to do a bunch of damage. So yeah, you can sit there and overrun, place a counter, overrun. Even if you just do it once, right? End of your turn, play a thing or whatever, and then next turn you start off with that. You could even do it a couple of times. It'd be really cool. But it just does plus 4 damage for that attack. It's not like it adds to the weapon damage overall. Interesting. There, we're going to get some little bolts on there that shoot lightning across the front of the blades. Stats all stay the same. When you overrun, place a counter on this card. Has plus 6 damage for each counter. Play a red, remove it. And get after the attack. Now we go up to yellow lightning. A lot more hardened steel and sharp spiky bits. And now it does plus 8 damage. Cool. Our last base set weapons are the Moon Blades in metal. 5, 5, 6, and 4. So we're doing a little bit more parrying. Oh, there's little gears and stuff in there. That's neat. If you play a blue, red, blue, deal 1 damage for each yellow card in your discard pile. Interesting. So if you kind of spend a turn maybe doing some parrying and practicing that stuff, then your next turn, if you jump up and you do 3 maneuvers, not only are you going to trigger her battle dance, and also do the extra 3 per weapon level for doing 3 in a row, you're also going to get a bunch of yellow. So you got to plan this out a little bit, but it could be very devastating. Here we're going to get some copper thrown in there, some more covering for the arms. Play that sequence deals 2 damage for each yellow. And then the last one, we're going to get some blades. I don't know why the metal always goes right towards blades everywhere. But this one does 3 damage for each yellow in your discard. Couple notes here, though. I just noticed this. Blue, red, blue. Blue, red, blue. The last one becomes red, blue, red. So you're going to deal even more damage because you have 2 actual attacks. Also, your maneuver, or your parry goes up 1, but your dodge goes down. Basically, your weapon gets a little bit heavier. You can't dodge as much. That's cool. Alright. Then we are going to look at the weapons from the expansion. Now, to properly play these in the campaign and everything, you have to have the forge. You're unlocked to the campaign and get all the items and stuff. So you need the campaign to play these properly. If you're just playing Expedition, there is generally no reason why you couldn't just add these in and use these like normal. Now, to say that, though, the armor and other items from this element are only in the elemental box. So you'll get this character's and Hellring's weapons, Karah and Hellring's weapons, but you won't get any of their possible equipment for playing the Expedition. Sometimes having a theme works really well together. But yeah, just saying, you can use them if you like an Expedition. It's nothing, I guess, not going to break the game if you do. Alright, so we have twin blades in the feather. Those are kind of neat. 5, 6, 3, and 4, and 6. So a lot more dodge. Feather's all about moving around in action. Also less parry. 3. We very rarely ever have a card that drops below 4. At the end of your action phase, Twin Blade gets 1 damage. Your sequence included a card of each color, max 4 times per game. At the end of your action phase, it gets plus 1 damage if your sequence includes 1 of each color, max 4 times per game. Interesting. I don't know how you're going to track that necessarily. Maybe put a counter every time it does it, but it only does it 4 times. But yeah, if you play all 4 colors, you can go an extra 1 damage. It seems okay, right? End your action phase gets plus 1 damage. The sequence included a card from each color, max 4 times per game. I don't know why would you want that over, like this, I just think like compared to the base weapon, right? Triggers battle damage, right? So you're going to do 1 extra damage. This is going to get plus 1. I guess it's up to 4, but you could play other weapons and just do 4. I'm going to guess the higher levels are a little bit better. Let's see. We're going to up our stats to 7 and drop that down to 5. So we're going to do more maneuvering. End your action phase to engage plus 2 damage. Sequence includes a card of each color, max 3 times per game. So now you can do it less, but it does more damage. Which is weird. And then if we upgrade to level 3, there's a lot more feathers on there, some patterns on the blades. Stats stay the same. End of your action phase, Twin Blade gets plus 3 damage if your sequence included a card of each color, max 5 times per game. I'm wondering if the idea is not just to be that you get it until the end of turn, is you get it. So I'm thinking this is at the end of your action phase, right? I think that's what it's supposed to be, and it's worded kind of weird to say this. or at least I'm reading it weird, is if you play all 4, this gets +1 damage, but you can only do it up to 4 times. So during this time, it's going to become 3. It could potentially become up to 3, 4, 7 damage. 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah. Could be up to 7 damage, but you have to play them. But only at the end of your action phase does it do it, so it doesn't do it during the sequence. And the same one here, it goes 2, but it can only activate up to 3 times, and then this one can do 3 damage, but it can activate up to 5 times. So as you play every color, you're going to get a better weapon, is I believe the idea of it. Which I make your everything a little bit better. Okay. It's just worded kind of weird, because like the max per game makes it sound like you only do the action that many times, not... It should say like max counters, like put a +1 counter on it, you know, and then you can have max of 5 counters. Would have made that understandable better. We have Vipers, which are in the Venom, so they're very snaky and poisony. I see that little fangs over there. 6, 4, 5, and 5. When the monster suffers damage during another player's turn, deal 2 damage if you assisted that player with an attack this turn. Okay, a little bit specific, because you have to assist with an offensive card. But you could do 2 extra damage. Kind of like poison damage is, I think, the idea there. Get some little green orbs on there to add some like venom sacks, I believe. Stacks stay the same. Suffers damage during another player's turn. Deal 4 damage. Be assisted with an offensive card. And then this one has a bunch of spikes, a little bit scales on there. Just increases everything. Stacks all stay the same. Setup. Place 4 counters on this card. When a monster suffers a wound, discard a counter for each red card in your discard pile. Viper gets +1 damage for each counter discarded this way. Then the bottom is when it suffers damage. Deal 5 damage if you assisted with an attack. So it does the same thing, but it also lets you place counters on there and boost this up. Nice. So you can up your attack with that. Cool. Then the last set of equipment is ice. We have ice wings. 5, 5, 6, and 4. So less dodge, more parry. Fur covered. It's a neat little runic symbol, or Celtic symbol there. Kind of way they weave that together. That's really neat. When you overrun the monster, inflict slow. So slow is from the Frost expansion. We'll look at that really quick to see exactly how that works. It says, when you inflict slow, place a slow token on the monster board, getting you to take the monster slow. While the monster is slow, do not refill its behavior slot and resolve a behavior card. At the end of your turn, remove the slow token, refilling the empty behaviors. So each time you trigger a behavior, you don't refill it. Now also to note, the slowed token does not come in this set, so if you don't have the expansion, you won't have that particular token. You could probably use something else if you were playing this in Expedition. Alright, so let's see what else we have. Ooh, upgrade, just some spikes on there, some ruin symbols, big giant skulls. Stats all stay the same. When you overrun the monster, inflict slow or remove 1 struggle. And then the last one, we get some ice on there as well. Of course, we need ice on there. And your stats stay the same. When you overrun the monster, inflict slow or remove struggle. When you trigger battle damage, remove 1 struggle. So it's going to help just to get rid of all the struggle off the monster. Awesome. We're going to hop into her actual deck now. So her mastery card. Starting mastery card is Piercing Damage. Or Piercing Dash, sorry. When you overrun the monster, place a counter on this card. So after twice, you get to flip it. And we get, when you overrun the monster, deal your base weapon damage or draw 1. So yeah, drawing will help you activate your chain and your sequences more. And then doing damage again. This is a little tiny, she's doing little tiny hits. She's doing 3 damage here, 4 damage there, instead of massive like 10, 20 damage. Which they'll add up, right? Her red cards start with attack. You have backstab, which has stealth. So it doesn't trigger red cards. or red behavior triggers. When you overrun the monster, you may discard this card from your hand to deal 4 per level weapon damage. So you got level 1 weapons to do 4 damage, but still, the fact that you can overrun, stab them as you run across them, and deal just extra 4 damage is super helpful. Crescent Strike, chain with red, increase your sequence limit by 1. So this is how she can get up to playing so many cards, because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can normally only play 5 cards in a round, right? So you can get up to 6 this way. And yeah, this would be one way to do that. So you can chain this in, and now you can play that last card. But again, you could chain multiple. You could actually have 8, 9, 10 potential attacks out in there. They just won't battle damage. They won't do the battle damage anymore. So obviously, it'd be like once you hit that 6th one, it would make sense to almost play something else, like a yellow card, to reset that and then start it over so you can get the extra damage back. But cool, that's still neat. We have Scythe has assist chain with red, remove 1 struggle. Echoing Blades, if you played this after a attack card, draw 2 cards, then discard a card from your hand. Piercing Strike, chain with a green, you may immediately overrun the monster. And then Air Blade, chain yellow, play a blue, remove a struggle. So these are kind of fun because they come afterwards. You play a yellow to start off, do this. Or like I said, if you did your, and often, I'm not going to do this for too much, but play a red card, chain Crushing Strike, right? Increase your limit, right? So now you've done your some of your base damage. If you get towards the end, and you play somewhere later on, all you always do is pop this one in, right? Play a yellow card to reset your counter. So let's say if we got up to the 6 and we did the extra 7, so now we're doing 14 extra battle damage with our level 1 weapon. Then play a yellow card as, you know, if you end up having 7 sequences, right? If you get enough. I mean, obviously you get enough. And that's just an example. Then you can drop this, right, after that yellow card to reset it, you know, and then play this for free to gain an extra one to start it up. Again, I don't know how often you're going to get over 6 or 7, whether you get enough to hit more multiple chains a second time, but it might definitely happen. Alright, our blues, our maneuvers, we have Cut Through. You may immediately overrun the monster if you do draw a card. Crossover, when you discard this card from your hand to generate stamina for a movement, you may overrun the monster instead of moving if you do remove 1 struggle. So that's kind of neat. So, like, do you want to move left or right, or do you want to run straight over him? Half Moon, assist. Play after a red card, deal your weapon damage, and draw 1. Dancing, draw 1 for each offensive in your sequence, max of 3. Mastery increases sequence limit by 1. So here again, another way you can increase your sequence another time, plus it's still an offensive card. Shadow Strike. This card gains stealth until the end of turn. When you overrun, your cards gain stealth to the end of turn. Ooh, that's even better. When you overrun the monster, you may discard this card from your hand or draw 2. And our final maneuver is Slice, assist, and chain with a red. Cool. Our parry yellow cards are Perfection. Draw 1. If this card, if there is a red card, if that card is red, you may play as the next card in your sequence without paying a stamina cost. Cool. So yeah, you play this, you draw a card, then possibly you could have another card for free. That's neat. Wall of Blades. If you have 3 cards or more in your sequence, you can play this card without paying its stamina cost. Nice. Here we have Deny. When you're revealing an attrition card, you may discard a card from your hand and discard that attrition card and reveal another one instead. Helpful. Offensive Altitude. When another player plays a red in their sequence, you may discard this card from your hand to search your deck for a red, add it to your hand, and then reshuffle your deck. Divert, assist. When a behavior card is revealed, you may discard this card to immediately overrun the monster. So that could be very helpful, right? oh, I'm in the front sector, he's playing this card, I'm going to jump to the back sector and not have to do that. Or opposite, I'm in the rear, I'm going to jump to his front. Flank to flank doesn't usually help, though. Natural agility. Increase your sequence limit by 1. Play after a red card, draw a card. Cool. So again, this could work very well. You get to that end thing, right? You play this as your last one. It's going to end your battle dance, but you can play a red card right after it because you have one extra spot now to play one. Plus, you draw a card, which might help. So you could get some cool combos with this. For our defense, our green, we have, not defense, our dodge. Run through, you may immediately overrun the monster. Swing, assist, increase your sequence limit by 1. Twist, chain. Play a red, after a red card, draw 1. Finesse, draw 1. Mastery, draw 2 instead. Shadow Step, reclaim with 2 red. You may immediately move without paying any stamina. So play 2 red, you can pull this card back out and it gets you a free movement if you need any. And then disengage. When the monster changes its orientation, you may discard this card from your hand to drop to your hand limit size. So you're like running up to him, he moves, you can get out of the way. Cool. Let's look at our upgrades. We have Twin Blades for a, so our weapon name. Chain Blue, when you discard a card from your hand, deal your weapon damage. Returning Blade, assist, reclaim with 3 attack. That's nice. Because you always discard it ahead of time, knowing you're going to play 3 offensive cards and then get it back. Lightning Strike for A2. Top of your deck, or top of your discard pile is a red. You may play that card and the next card without, in a sequence without paying a stamina cost. Cool. Again, she's going to run all these cards together. And then Overturn. Overturn, if you paid with a red, draw 3 cards. And our A Mastery is Double Edge. When you discard an offensive card from your hand, place a counter on this card. And so then say when you discard a red card from your hand, deal 1 per weapon level damage. That card is red, deal 3 instead. This is going to reward you for discarding stuff, doing assists and things like that. So every time you assist, you're discarding it from your hand. In B, we have Endless Strike. Increase your sequence limit by 1 this turn. Dance Step. After red, if you draw 1, if you draw a red this way, draw 1 additional card. Maelstrom. After 2 red, the next time you deal damage through Battle Dance this turn, double that damage. Neat. So yeah, the next time you do it, so you're already gonna be at, if you played 2 and this is your 3rd one, the next time you do it, it'll be for the 5. If you just right off the bat. So instead it does double that damage, so 5 per weapon level, do 10 per weapon level. Your level 1, that's 10 damage. Your level 2, that's 20. Level 3, that's 30 damage. That's pretty neat. It's a pretty neat combo. And then our last in B is Outweigh. Increase your sequence limit by 1. If Mastery, draw a card. So this is a good one. Like, again, you can even play it right off the bat. I know I have 1 extra limit to play as you draw a card. So that's pretty cool. Our Mastery for B is Unstoppable. When you trigger Battle Dance, place a counter on this card. I guess that's going to happen pretty darn quick. Prevent any fatigue damage you would suffer. When you trigger battle damage, draw 1 and then discard a card from your hand. That's cool, because again, this might be very helpful if like she's cycling through her cards a lot and you find yourself taking that fatigue damage. You might throw this in there. Plus the fact you did draw and discard a card every time you trigger it. You'll actually pull out better cards. Like I have green card in my hand. It's going to end my sequence. Doesn't help me. Let me discard it, get another one. Then maybe you might draw a red card or blue card, or you might draw even another yellow or green, but it might have the sequence, up your sequence, so you can basically play it and then play another card after it. So that's kind of cool. Definitely cool. For C, we have Spinning. Chain Blue. Play 2 red, gain a defensive token. It's helpful for her if she's playing a lot of attack cards to give her some defense. Reactive defense, when you suffer an attack, you may discard this card from your hand to immediately overrun the monster and draw 1. Siku, we have Double Strike. This card counts as 2 attack for the battle dance. Oh, that's nice. And you have Mastery to draw a card. And then Dancing Shield, Chain, red. This card counts as a red for Battle Dance and Retaliate. Nice. So she gets to retaliate. She has a red card in her hand. That's cool. Alright, our Mastery for C is going to be the Dancer. When you chain a card, place a counter on this card. Cool. So we're going to affect with the chaining. When you chain a card, deal 1 per weapon damage. The card is red, deal 3 instead. Alright, so cool. So we had the other one that had to do with when you're discarding a card for like doing assists or stuff like that. This one's going to be every time you chain a card, you're going to do extra damage. So kind of depending on how you want to play. Alright, for D, we have Evasive Dance. Search your discard pile for 2 offensive cards, shuffle them into your deck. Fade, Stealth. Mastery, draw 1 card, increase the sequence limit by 1 this turn. Unseen, Reclaim, start your turn in the same sector as another player. Oh, yeah, you just start with somebody else, you just pick this card back up. That's cool. And then Rising Moon. You may draw 1 or increase the struggle. This maneuver removes by 1. Weapon Mastery. Mastery, your weapon gets +1 per level damage until the end of the turn for each card with stealth in your sequence. That's cool. So you have a lot of stealth cards. Our Mastery is the Master of Illusion. Start, reveal 2 green cards from your hand to place a counter on this card. Nice, you only have to do it once, and then it flips over. Each offense you play gains stealth. Like on your turn, move 1 struggle and lose 1 focus. So yeah, removing the struggle from the monster is helpful. Losing the focus means you have to keep doing it. But yeah, just combine this with this card right here. Your weapon gets +1 for each card with stealth in your sequence. Each attack card gains stealth. So right, every time you play an attack with this card, each one's going to gain 1 extra damage. Your weapon gets +1 for each card with stealth. So the first one will gain 1. By the time you play 2, now it's getting +2. You play 3, gets +3. You play 4, gets +4. And plus, that's pretty cool. It's a neat little combo there. Alright, and our last upgrades are E with Blade Rush. When you suffer attack, you may discard this card to immediately overrun the monster and deal 2 per weapon level to it. Iron Hedge, when you suffer an attack, you may discard to have that damage and draw 1 card. Fighting Spirit, you may suffer an attack. If you do, draw 2 or remove 2 struggle. Ooh, forcing yourself to take damage. And then finally, we have Blade Charge. Your weapon gets +2 damage until the end of turn. And our Mastery for that is Blade of Vengeance. When you suffer an attack, reveal 2 red cards to place a counter on this card. So this is all about if you're going to be taking damage, this is a great one to use. Increase your hand limit size by 1. Retaliate 2 red, deal your weapon damage. When you take damage, reveal 2 red cards to deal your weapon damage to a monster. Alright, cool. So that was her cards. We're also going to get her 3 wound cards. 2 that go with the core set stuff. 1 for the expansions because they do have ability to gain an extra wound for every single card. Alright, then we're going to look at, before we jump into the campaign stuff, we're going to look at something else really quick. Some extra cards we have. So we have 4 extra wound cards. 1 for each base game character. Because there will be stuff that'll like force you to take extra damage or you can gain extra wounds. So we get 1 more for each character, so they each now have 4. And then we're also going to get a selection of other cards. So we have the ability cards, and these are all essentially for the 5th player. So you're playing as the 5th player, or you're using these guys rather. So we get 1 for each different character. So you're playing them, adding them into the game. They're going to each get their own for each different monster. So we have the ability cards. We have the bleeding cards, which are from the Nightmare expansion. So we haven't actually seen these. But again, it's just going to be the ones for these characters. The ones for the core characters will come in that set. We have some more Venom from the one monster, Venom from the other monster, Paralyzing Spores, some Bleeding from the Awakened, because you might end up using those cards as well. Yeah, so just the extra cards you would need to play if you're using these two, because they get shuffled into their decks. Then we are going to hop in to the campaign mode. Now there will be there's going to be spoilers of kind of how the campaign works, but that's fine. But we'll have some spoilers at the end for some unlocked cards. But I'll remind you there. So first thing we're going to get for the campaign is, I'm gonna zoom this back out a little bit so we can see. We are going to get new forges. So we have brand new forges for the 5 players. So now it's going to have sword, great bow, hammer, sword and shield. But now we also have dual blades and heavy gun. So these are going to replace all your original forges to have the ones for the other players. You're only playing core set. You don't need to use those. Otherwise, you're going to have all the exact same effects. It's going to go all the way through each one, except it does go through the expansions as well. So, like, right, we have Feather, Ice, and Venom. So we do have these forges as well. So, like I did say, like, oh, you need the forges, you can still buy the weapons. You know, you just wouldn't have access to the extra stuff in there. Obviously, if you don't buy the expansion, you also have access to any of their other weapons. So it'd be kind of weird to buy this expansion, buy this. Oh, I'm going to pretend I have the Venom Forge, and I'm going to purchase Viper or Reptile, and that's it, right? But it's kind of neat that, once you get this expansion, you just replace your boards with these guys. Instead of having, like, an extra, they could have had an extra little, oh, here's a little add-on piece. They just made new boards. Yes, it's redundant, but I'd rather have that than have to keep an extra side piece or a memorization of those. Alright, so then in the campaign, this is actually a new campaign. The Mount Havoc campaign works a little bit differently. I was trying to find the rules for it. I thought it was at the front there. Alright, here we are. So this works different than the other one. It's a separate campaign from the original game. Short campaign where 1 to 5 players, comprised of 3 consecutive scenarios that form a brief standalone independent from the base game narrative. We suggest completing the base game before playing Mount Havoc so you can fully enjoy the reference to the game lore with any spoilers what the monsters' gameplay mechanics in addition to the short campaign. Because you're playing against monsters from the other ones, from the core sets. So, yeah, setup is pretty simple. You form a random encounter deck by shuffling all the random encounter cards. So, we're going to get this stack of random encounter cards. Draw one, tell you which monsters you're playing. So there are 6 of them, 1 for each element in the base game. So you will be able to play against all of them, or you'll play 3 each time. Each player takes a corresponding hunter board and their starter cards. Takes the Mount Havoc character sheet, which we'll look at in just a moment. It's going to show that stuff. Campaign structure works a little bit differently. Divided into 3 chapters, each one counting as a game session. Each chapter has 3 phases: resolve, preparation, story, and random encounter. Suggest we complete a chapter and move to the next one. If you have successfully completed the campaign, when you complete chapter 3. However, if you fail a scenario, the campaign is over. You must restart from 1. So that's the big difference between this and the other ones. The other one, you're playing 11 full chapters. Here you're playing 3, but you have to win all 3 of them. So each chapter corresponds to a different level. So chapter 1 has level 1s, chapter 2 has level 2s, chapter 3 has level 3s. So you're going to play an increasingly harder monster. So again, you could play the same 3 monsters, 3 campaigns in a row, but you might have, so like one of them is Kaijera is one you get to fight. Like game 1 might be your level 1 monster, game 2 could be your level 3 monster, game 3 could be your level 2 monster. So you might fight it 3 times, but you might fight it at different levels. So instructions are, for preparation phase, so you start the campaign. So So each player chooses their hunter's equipment and build their decks based on their level. Start a campaign, choose one level 1 equipment as you complete scenarios for the chapters by unlocking the higher level equipment. There's no crafting phase. So what's neat about this is you choose one weapon, armor, helm, and item card. These partner starting equipment. You can choose from any equipment cards listed on the forge, as long as you include a minimum of 2 different elements. So that's what's neat, is you can say, hey, I want to test out the fire weapon, and I want to try the ice armor, and then you can pick your third one from the other 2, right? Either 4 different elements or 2 different ones, however you want to do it. But then now you're stuck with those, and you pick 3 potions, and then from the level 1, and that's how you have them. And then at chapters 2 and 3, upgrade all the cards in your equipment by placing it at the higher one. So if you had the crystal helm, now you upgrade to the higher crystal helm. You don't get to go back to the forge and swap out different weapons. So you're stuck with them same element or type of weapons the entire game, but you're going to get to play with all 3 levels. You choose up to 2 equipment cards from the elements that correspond to the monster you defeated in the previous scenario. Add those cards to your equipment deck. Make sure the level of the equipment you take matches your current chapter. So you do get access to the other ones, right? So if I had crystal stuff, I upgrade to the higher crystal, but then I can get equipment I can get from the monster. So if I defeated the fire monster, I can add the fire. I get the option of swapping some of them out. But yeah, it's just kind of neat. You get extra stuff, but you kind of get an upgrade. You don't have to play around with all the other stuff. Choose 3 potions from the list on the herbalist card. Make sure their level are the ones that match the current chapter. Upgrade your pool by moving any upgrade steps in your skill tree to the level of the current chapter. So when you're on chapter 2, you get some extra ones. Chapter 3, you get some more. Unlike the base game, any wound cards received during combat must be kept between chapters, including in an action deck. Player cannot have more than 3 wounds in their deck. So this is why we get that 3rd wound card. Because they stick in there. Cool. Alright, so story phase. During the story phase, simply read the narrative. Do what it says. Random encounter. Do not choose quests or the monsters they will face. Instead, they are played randomly determined on the random encounter deck. During the random encounter, players draw cards to determine which scenario will be played at the end of the chapter. Each random encounter corresponds to a specific scenario. The aggression level is obviously good. That you can only play each scenario once during a campaign. After drawing a random encounter, remove that card from the game. Do not put it back in there. If you successfully complete the scenario, advance to the next chapter. If you defeat, you lose the game. The campaign ends immediately. When you reveal a scenario you're going to play, you may discover the monster is weak against elements on your equipment. Now you get a chance to do it. Essentially, you can't. During the regular campaign, you can be like, okay, we're going to fight the fire guy. He's weak to ice. Alright, we know, redo our ice card or add water cards to try and work on this. This, you're going in like, hey, we don't know what we're fighting. We could be fighting any of the 6 elements. So we're going to pick our equipment. You might have a weakness to it. You might not. So very interesting. Save the game is basically the same way as the old one. You just mark off what you've done. Yeah, then there's an end of round. You can read your failures and all that. And then hopping to the actual campaign part, your chapter narratives. I'm not going to look over too much. Epilogue. Campaign scenarios. So we just get to see each one. Show which card they match to. Their special rules if they have any. For each one, just how to play them. So they're right here, so you don't have to go grab the campaign book or any of that and look it up. So it is very neat. It's an interesting concept. Here is our campaign book, so chapters 1, 2, 3. How many wound cards you have. Who you've defeated. So we have Kaijera, Digorax, Orexing, Taruga, Jerichos, and Meraxus. And it shows what your upgrade is and your notes. So yeah, it's very simple. If you want to play a campaign, have multiple things in a row, but you don't want to you want to eliminate the leveling up stuff with the forge. You have to play with that stuff, or you don't want to play 11 matches. This is a nice, quick way to do it. The only thing that is sort of a downside of it is there's only 6. There's only 6 cards. We have Fire, Horn, Coral, crystal, lightning, and then metal. So there's only the 6 different ones for random encounters, one for each element in the base game. I think that's the only part of it I disliked. I wish it had at bare minimum, I wish it at least included one from each of the expansions. You could be like, yeah, you don't own the expansions, you can't use this. Or the expansion boxes had each come with, even if they did that and you had to buy the expansion, that came with a random encounter for one. So you could at least play all 9 elements. That would have been a little bit more acceptable. I really wish I had a way just to play any monster at all. So we kind of like expedition mode. But my thought process and why they did this, or I don't know why they didn't include the expansions. Maybe they just have a little bit too much extra stuff in there. I'm not for sure. But the reason why I think they picked these 6 monsters because they might have the least extra setup stuff. But I'm not for sure. Because obviously we have all these extra cards, so I know maybe they have some of the extra stuff. I don't remember off the top of my head what they'll do. But yeah, it would have been more cool if they had a way to, like, every single card. I guess you have to print off, like, at the end with all the nightmare stuff as well. You have to print off, have 22 different ones. Different cards. But even if you just had an element, like, hey, fight a random fire one, right? And then pick that. I guess the other objective you could do is if you want to play this after you played the campaign, you still want to do a random mode, you could do a very similar idea. Keep all the structure of, upgrading your cards, doing this, doing that. But then pick quests. Just randomly take your 49 quest cards or whatever, draw one. Oh, I drew this card. I'm playing this quest. Look up the campaign, see how you have to play against them. That's who you're fighting against, right? That particular mode. Or do the same idea of that, and just when you pick it, if you don't like the quest version, you could always, or the campaign version of it, you could always do one of the expedition ones and pick one of those. Because there's a way to, like, use other cards in the game to randomly select all of them. Alright, so the last thing we have in this video is we are going to look at the special cards unlocked for the campaign for these guys. So these are spoilers if you don't want to know what the secret cards are unlocked during the campaign. If you've already watched the previous campaign video, you would have seen what they were for the other heroes, so you probably already have an idea of what these are. But if for some reason you skipped that, this is spoilers. If you don't want to watch that, hey, thanks for watching my videos. Hope to see you guys in the rest of them when we hop into the last expansion, the Nightmare Box. Otherwise, here we go. So we are going to have, need some focus there. We're going to have special cards for each character. So there's a set of, there's an extra set for the 5th player. So the armor cards we're going to get and the helm cards are just for the 5th player. So they're going to be the exact same as the other ones. But what they are is we have Ancient Armor, which has Legendary, which means it counts as every element, gives you 20 health, and reduces any damage you suffer by 1. I'm going to zoom this in so I can zoom this out so it focuses a little bit better. Yeah, so these are meant to be played only versus the Awakened. That's what the rulebook says. Can you do them in another battle or this Havoc campaign or whatever? You can do whatever you want. It's your game. You want to add them in expedition modes? Go ahead. They might not necessarily work as well because some of the abilities on these cards are specified towards the Awakened. But that's what they're for. But this says reduce any damage you suffer by 1. So this is definitely great all around. The Ancient Helm, also legendary, is action. Name a monster. Look at the behavior card and play it. That behavior is an instant card associated with the monster you named. Draw one of your weapons. Gets +2 damage until the end of the turn. So yeah, the Awakened has behavior cards, which are basically, or instant cards, which are his behavior cards that match a card from each different monster, so it gives them kind of one of their abilities or actions. And this lets you kind of get an idea of you could potentially get one and gain a bonus from it. But it is random because you put 10 in the deck, so you don't know which ones are going to be there. Bare minimum lets you look at the card and see what's in there. But yeah, it's going to give you some options. So it's kind of neat. So at least you can kind of see what there are. Hey, plus 2 damage is not bad. The other set is the Celestial equipment, which you can get as Celestial Armor. Also, Legendary only has 15 health, but it says when you flip the KO token, discard it instead. So it lets you heal a little bit quicker, rise quicker. It says when you rise, draw 2 cards, set the health points of this card to 30. So the first time you get KO'd, you get up quicker and reset your hand, get extra 2 cards, and you have now 45 health. It's going to help you stay alive a little bit longer. And then the helmet says, when you would flip the KO token, discard it instead. So the same idea. When you would rise, your weapon gets plus 3 damage. Cool. So either one you use, you gain an extra bonus on your... these could be a little bit... This set could be a little bit more almost abusive in the campaign mode, because you could get KO'd more often. And increase your weapon. Although you have to get level 3, I guess, from there. So I don't know if you could technically use this in a campaign, because you have to go from level 1 to 2 to 3. So you would never have a level 1 for these. You probably wouldn't be able to use this in the Havoc. Then we have their weapons. Alright. So here's where the fun things. We have Ancient Blades for Karah. 5, 5, 5, and 5. Legendary, again, counts as all elements. Set up, name a monster from among your campaign trophies. When you overrun the Awakening, deal 7 damage and let your behavior card in play. If that card is an instant card associated with the monster you named, you may remove that card from the game and replenish its behavior slot. So this is only going to really be effective if you're fighting the Awakened, obviously, because you have to overrun him. 7 damage is good. The second half of the ability, though, is very kind of random. Because at the beginning of the game, you have to be like, okay, I really hate Varaxis's behavior card. I can't deal with what he does. Or you're like, this guy does, Meraxis does this thing. I can't risk having this hit me. You can name this, then hopefully you can find that card and you can get rid of it out of the game. But it's only going to affect that one card. So it's kind of cool because it helps you eliminate one thing that might be a major threat, but it's only going to be 1 of 10 behavior cards. Then here we have Ancient Gunbow. It's also all 5s and legendary. Same idea, name a monster, but when you ignite, so you shoot a bullet and you ignite this, deal 7 damage with your behavior card. So again, if you're playing 4 players, and now you can leave 4 of the 10 cards, that could be very helpful. Obviously, 2 players, you always have to play at least 2 people, so it'd only be at least 2, so it's not terrible, but everyone would have to be playing these weapons, and not everyone is forced to do that. The Celestial ones are the Celestial Blades, all 5s and legendary. When a stance is revealed, heal 2 or draw 1, which is very good. When you trigger a battle dance, Celestial Blade gets X plus damage till the end of turn, where X is your current stance number. That could be helpful in just any match, right? Lots of these other ones involved the Storm effect. The Celestials usually involve the Storm. That's why they didn't work anytime. This one will work in any battle you want to play against, I guess. And then finally, we have the Celestial Gunbow. I love this one because all the rest of them have been like big cannons and stuff. Like big guns, big different cannon stuff. This looks like a crossbow attached to a shotgun. When a stance card is revealed, heal 2 or draw 1. When you reload, flip a ballista to its loaded state. Ignite, choose a ballista that targets your sector and immediately activate it. So again, the ballista are only used for the Awakening. They let them do extra damage. The fact that you can reload them, which is pretty cool. And the fact that you can also fire them outside of the time they would fire is very cool. Because you would fire it with Ignite, then reload it, reload your cards to flip one to its loaded state, possibly ignite it a second time. Well, it says once per round, so you can't keep doing it. But you could then reload it and have it ready for its effect to go off too. So that's pretty cool. Alright, that is what we have for this set. So this was, again, our Mount Havoc expansion, or our Hunter box for Primal The Awakening. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you've been checking out all the others, which there's been a ton, I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for joining me. We have one more major box to go through, the Nightmare Expansion, which will also be a multi-parter because there's a lot of monsters in there. And then we'll go over the add-on accessories in a final video, unless they reveal more content in the future, which would be awesome. Alright, see you guys there. Bye.